In a split second, basically, as the chain broke, my cat continued to go backwards, and Dave's,
Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today's story isn't just about big trucks or crazy builds, it's about resilience, heartbreak, and survival. You may know Diesel Dave Kiley from the hit show Diesel Brothers, where he and Heavy D turned ordinary trucks into jaw-dropping monsters on wheels. But what if I told you the real story goes far beyond what you saw on TV? From near-death experiences on a frozen mountain, to multi-million-dollar lawsuits, to the terrifying moment he almost lost his daughter. This is a journey you won't forget. Stick around, because you're about to hear the heartbreaking tragedy of Diesel Dave. A few years ago, fans were stunned when Heavy D released a video and admitted something they had kept secret for nearly 3 years. In that video, he said the words no one expected: "I nearly lost my best friend." That best friend was Diesel Dave. The terrifying story began with Heavy D's fascination for snowcats. Those massive snow machines built to climb impossible slopes and move mountains of snow. He owned a cabin near Farmington Peak in Utah, and while the road up there was accessible in summer, during winter it became deadly. A 12-foot wide mountain trail clung to the side of a cliff with 500 feet of rock above and a 1,000-foot drop below. On January 27, 2018, Heavy D, Diesel Dave, and their families loaded into two snowcats, one gray and one brand new red Pistonbly. After spending the night at the cabin, they decided to take on the most dangerous stretch of the road the next morning. At first, everything went smoothly as the red snowcat plowed through deep drifts. But suddenly, the slope shifted, snow crashed down, and the machine swayed, teetering on the edge of the cliff. Inside the cab were Heavy D, Diesel Dave, and Heavy D's 7-year-old daughter, Charlie. For a terrifying moment, the 20,000-pound machine hung halfway off the edge. They shut the engine off and hiked back through waist-deep snow. Diesel Dave sprinted ahead while Heavy D and Charlie trailed behind in the dark, scaring off coyotes with loud shouts. When they reached the cabin, they discovered the gray snowcat's battery was dead, but eventually managed to start it. Their plan was simple: use the gray snowcat as an anchor to pull the red one back. The chain tightened, and the red cat slowly crawled back onto the trail. For a moment, it seemed like they were saved, but then the chain snapped. The red snowcat jolted, twisted, and slid off the cliff with Diesel Dave still inside. Heavy D watched in horror as the machine spun into the darkness. The last thing he saw were its headlights staring back at him before they vanished. Dropping to his knees, he screamed to the sky, convinced he had just witnessed his best friend's death. Inside the tumbling snowcat, Diesel Dave experienced what should have been his final moments. He hadn't buckled his seat belt, a mistake that surprisingly saved his life. As the machine flipped, the windshield popped out and Dave was thrown free, tumbling through snow until he came to rest buried waist-deep. Stunned and barely able to move, he realized his friend might try to climb down to reach him, which would mean certain death for both of them. Somehow, he still had cell service, and he used his phone. Up above, Heavy D's phone buzzed. Seeing Diesel Dave's name, he thought it was impossible. But then he heard Dave's voice: "I think I'm okay." Against all odds, Diesel Dave had survived. Heavy D rushed down the mountain, through chest-deep snow, until he found twisted metal, shattered glass, and his best friend alive. It was nothing short of a miracle. For Heavy D, it was the most terrifying moment of his life. For Diesel Dave, it was the realization that he might never have seen his daughters again. And while they eventually salvaged what they could of the snowcat, that night left a scar that would never fade. To understand how much Diesel Dave had to lose, you need to know where he came from and how Diesel Brothers became a worldwide phenomenon. Despite the name, they aren't actually brothers. The crew is made up of David Heavy D Sparks, David Diesel Dave Kiley, Keaton the Muscle Hoskins, and Joshua Redbeard Stewart, for bearded friends from Utah who shared one passion: diesel trucks. It all began when Heavy D opened a small diesel truck dealership. At first, they were flipping old pickups, but soon the builds got bigger and crazier. They began posting videos on Facebook and YouTube, filled with pranks and stunts that quickly gained traction. One video went so viral that they landed a spot on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. That appearance caught the attention of the Discovery Channel, and in January 2016, Diesel Brothers premiered. The show exploded in popularity. Viewers were hooked by the outrageous builds and giveaways, from monster trucks to 6x6 beasts that looked like military tanks. By 2019, the show was renewed for a sixth season, and in 2020, they pushed the limits even further with Diesel Brothers Monster Jam, breaking world records. At their Salt Lake City headquarters, Sparks Motors, creativity flowed endlessly. Meanwhile, their business's diesel power gear and diesel sellers were booming, connecting fans through clothing, truck parts, and giveaways. But with fame came legal storms that threatened to tear apart everything Diesel Dave and the Diesel Brothers had built. It began in 2016, when Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment filed a lawsuit accusing the crew of removing pollution controls and encouraging the controversial stunt known as rolling coal. For fans, those thick black smoke clouds looked like raw power. But for doctors, it was toxic, dangerous, and reckless. Experts testified that a single tampered truck could produce more than 30 times the pollution of a normal one. That meant one modified diesel was as harmful as dozens of clean-running trucks combined. The case escalated, and in 2020, U.S. District Judge Robert Shelby issued a harsh verdict, an $848,000 fine, and a permanent injunction, preventing the crew from tampering with emissions systems again. What had once made the Diesel Brothers famous was now painted as illegal and hazardous. Just as the dust began to settle, another lawsuit hit, this time from overseas. In 2019, the Italian fashion giant Diesel sued Diesel Power Gear, the merchandise arm of the crew. Their claim was trademark infringement, arguing that shirts, hats, and gear with bold Diesel logos looked confusingly similar to their own iconic branding. The legal battle dragged on for years, and in the end, the court ruled in favor of the fashion label. The punishment was staggering: $11.8 million in damages, and a permanent ban on using the word diesel on clothing. For a team that had built their empire on the name, it was a crushing financial and emotional blow. But nothing compared to what happened next. In September 2020, tragedy struck when Diesel Dave's daughter, Piper, was involved in a horrific car accident. She was left in critical condition, fighting for her life in a hospital bed. For months, Diesel Dave and his family endured a nightmare of surgeries, sleepless nights, and fear that they might lose her. Yet, in the face of despair, Piper proved her strength. Against all odds, she began to recover faster than doctors predicted, inspiring everyone who followed her journey. The diesel community rallied, launching the Piper Strong campaign to help cover medical costs. Fans bought shirts, decals, and sent messages of hope from around the world. By early 2021, Diesel Dave shared the news that his daughter's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. After months of struggle, she was healing, smiling again, and proving that resilience runs in the family. From the outside, the Diesel Brothers looked like for friends living the dream, building trucks, breaking records, and laughing on screen. But behind the cameras, Diesel Dave's life was filled with near-death experiences, lawsuits, and the terrifying fight for his daughter's life. He nearly lost everything, yet through it all, he never gave up. Yet, through it all, he kept going. Fans often ask how he finds the strength to keep moving forward. Maybe it's his daughters. Maybe it's his unbreakable friendship with Heavy D. Or maybe it's the realization that after everything he has survived, he cannot waste a single day. Because when you've stared death in the face, when you've watched your child fight her way back to life, and when you've seen everything you built nearly collapse, you come to understand what really matters. That's the real story of Diesel Dave, not just the trucks, not just the fame, but the fight to keep going no matter what life throws at him. So, what do you think of Diesel Dave's journey? Pure bad luck or undeniable resilience? One thing's for sure, his story proves that every legend carries unseen battles. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible journeys. Thanks for watching.